El Dorado was the dream child of writer Tony Holland, famous for Z-Cars and District Nurse. He had already helped save the BBC once with a huge hit based on a world he knew.
Well, the character sprang from my early childhood. The idea was that I would take my family, and it was about kinship and community and a local way and streets that one knew. And this concept of a square suddenly seemed instinctively the right thing to do. And I knew it would work.
This, my sweet, is a letter from my solicitor telling you that your husband has filed a petition for divorce. Happy Christmas, eh?
During Christmas 1986, 30 million people watched EastEnders, a record audience for British television. It became the cornerstone of BBC One's schedule, and 5 years later, EastEnders was still doing the business. But it wasn't enough. With the government keeping a watchful eye on the BBC, the corporation felt it needed bigger audiences to justify the licence fee.
They had to be seen to increase their audience share by 1.5% to prove to the government that they were a viable organisation, that they could justify any increase in the licence fee, and just generally deserve to continue to exist as the BBC.
It was about building the foundations on BBC One when you could see a very competitive era coming, trying to create something which would inevitably become a major franchise for the channel.
So the BBC came up with a plan. They would have a competition to find the best idea for a new soap opera. Tony Holland thought he had just what they wanted in the bottom of a drawer. It was something he had dreamt up while walking to a nudist beach.
I was on holiday in Mallorca, and I was on a walk. And suddenly I saw that I was coming to a piazza. There was news agents, bars, a little bed and breakfast, and it was an entire community, a sort of Britain in miniature.
Taking that moment in Mallorca, Tony used it as a setting for his new soap opera to explore the idea that the only place a Brit can be a Brit today is abroad, and he called it Little England. Hoping to repeat the earlier magic, he brought in fellow EastEnders scriptwriter, former Barrow boy, Tony Jordan.
The original concept, which I thought was great, it was almost like a siege mentality. Felt like Khartoum or Zulu or something, about these Brits in this little fort with all these foreigners all around them and trying to survive and make a new life for themselves. And it was about dreams of a fresh start and getting away from the rain.
I was saying the North-South divide lives next door to each other, and these people were happy here, and they didn't have to make an effort to mix in.
Several ideas were submitted and whittled down to a short list of 3. But would the BBC Mandarins chance so much on a soap set in an expat community in Spain? In November 1991, 3 BBC executives led by BBC One controller Jonathan Powell met in secret to choose the new soap that was supposed to save their bacon. The decision was unanimous. Little England emerged victorious. Tony would work with producer Julia Smith, co-creator of EastEnders. As he wrote, she would be in charge of everything else. They had been long-time friends till now. They were given just 6 months to get one of the most ambitious television productions ever up and running. First, they decided to build an entire village from scratch, halfway up a remote Spanish hillside. It was miles away from the nearest city, Fuengirola. At a cost of £2 million, the set had to have an authentic old town, complete with Church Square, a shopping plaza, and an apartment complex. It had taken 8 months to build EastEnders Albert Square, and that was in the BBC's own backyard. Here, they had half the time. Next, Julia, the producer, needed to hire the actors. She had a reputation for casting unknowns, like Leslie Grantham as Dirty Den in EastEnders. She was about to try the same again. Out in Spain, German student Kai Mora was selling timeshares and had never acted before in his life. But a friend persuaded Kai to go for an audition.
And in the car, he gave me the script. This is actually when I saw the script the first time. He went, "Oh, read it." So we were sitting in the car, and it was all going like that. So we were reading the script, and it was in English as well. I was just like, oh, my word. So we arrive on set. It's all big, and it's all building works going on. It's all very odd. So he introduces me to this lady, Julia Smith, and I read with her a happening that took all of 5 minutes at the most. I wrote with her once. That was it. And then I got the part.
6 other unknowns were also brought on board, but some parts were given to seasoned professionals, like Campbell Morrison, cast as expat father of 2, Drew Lockhead.
I was a jobbing actor, and all of a sudden I was offered a 3-year contract to go out to Spain and to do a brand new soap opera. I mean, in some ways I was looking at that as my pension, you know. As most of us were, we thought, you know, it's the BBC, it's going to run and run and run and run.
Patricia Brake's part of Drew's wife, Gwen, was created with her in mind.
For the part to actually be offered to you, it's extraordinary. Took a lot of thinking about, actually, because I knew it would change everything. It would change my career enormously.
Veteran thespian Faith Kent was chosen for busybody Olive King.
We were all like a bunch of kids, very excited, not knowing what on earth was going to meet us the other end, and it was great to be part of something so new and with such a potential.
In April, the entire cast flew to Spain and met up in a hotel for a read-through. It was now just 3 months to transmission.
Being actors, we got there interested and excited and optimistic.
Oh, the read-through? Yeah, that was great. First of all, I didn't know what a read-through was. And everybody was like, whoa, they were like speaking so nicely. And then it was my turn with this thick German accent going, what the?
Some of the experienced actors started to get a bit edgy.
It was the most strange experience because we had people there who could have been good actors, but did not have the master of the English language, and why should they? I couldn't speak Swiss, and I certainly couldn't speak Dutch.
I was very worried that there were too many inexperienced and, in fact, rank amateurs that had been selected.
At the end of the read-through, Julia Smith gave one of the directors a note to give to me. And the director came over quietly and said, I think you're a bit over the top, and I hope you're not going to do it like that because it's very broad Scots and it's not very good. To which I replied, I am the least of your worries.
I think that was the first time that I got a sinking feeling in my stomach. I had to sort of boost my morale and say, come on, no, this is going to be wonderful, come on. It's going to be good, it's going to be great, we'll make it work.